Every town had that one house, the one that didn't get trick-or-treaters, the one where the grass grew wild, where the windows stayed closed even in spring. In Willow Ridge, it was the little blue house at the end of Winslow Lane. It didn't look haunted, not in the classical sense. There were no broken windows or sagging shutters, but something about it whispered wrong. The hedges were too tall. The mailbox leaned just slightly, and no one ever saw the boy. People said his name was Daniel Carpenter, the only child of a reclusive couple, Victor and Eliza. The Carpenters were polite, but strange. They rarely came out. When they did, it was always together. Eliza in a faded floral dress and wide-brimmed hat, Victor in dark glasses and a walking cane, even though he didn't limp. Whispers followed them everywhere. Daniel was special needs, they said. Couldn't talk, couldn't walk, wore a mask because of a facial deformity. He's very sensitive, Eliza would explain to anyone who lingered too long by their front gate. But he's so lonely. He just needs a friend. But no one ever came. That is, until Morgan Laird moved into the house across the street. Morgan was 12, a loner. She wore hand-me-downs, liked horror books, and spent more time sketching on the curb than playing with the kids in the cul-de-sac. Her parents were busy professionals, often gone late, and Morgan had gotten used to filling the silence with stories. She noticed the Carpenters almost immediately, especially Eliza, who always seemed to be looking for someone. One day, Morgan saw her taping a handwritten note to the bulletin board at the community center, looking for a gentle reader to spend time with our son Daniel. He is 13, shy, nonverbal, and very lonely. He wears a mask for his comfort. Just needs someone to read to him, please. Bring him some light. It stayed pinned there for a week. Then 2. Morgan was the only one who ever stopped to read it. Something about the note pulled at her. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was just boredom. But that Saturday, Morgan knocked on the Carpenter's front door with a book in her hand. The door creaked open before her knuckles dropped. Eliza Carpenter blinked in surprise, then smiled like she hadn't in years. "Oh, you're here to read to Daniel?" Morgan nodded. "I brought Coraline. I thought he might like it." Eliza opened the door wide. The house smelled of lavender and something else, musty, metallic, like the underside of a damp basement. "Come in, sweetheart." He's in the sitting room. Inside was dim. The curtains were drawn, the wallpaper faded and curling in places. Family portraits lined the hallway, pictures of a pale blonde boy at different ages, always unsmiling, always staring just a little off camera. Victor Carpenter stood in the kitchen, sipping from a mug that said First Dad in faded blue letters. He didn't speak, just watched as Morgan passed. Eliza guided her to the sitting room. There, before the bay window, sat a wheelchair, and in it, a boy. He wore a crisp, button-up shirt, slacks, and a white plastic mask, blank, emotionless, perfectly smooth. His head tilted ever so slightly to one side, but he faced the window entirely, back to the room. "He doesn't talk," Eliza whispered, "but he listens. Just read to him. That's all he needs." Morgan took a seat beside the boy. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened the book. She read for half an hour. Her voice was soft at first, then steadier. Daniel didn't move, not once. But something about the stillness was comforting, like reading to a sleeping pet. When she finished, she turned to say goodbye, but Eliza was already there, dabbing her eyes. "You're an angel," she said. "He hasn't been this calm in months. Will you come again?" Morgan nodded. "Sure, I don't mind." She returned the next day, and the next, always the same. Daniel facing the window, Morgan reading aloud, the Carpenters watching from nearby, silent and grateful. But by the 4th visit, things began to gnaw at her. There were flies, small ones. They buzzed lazily around Daniel's shoulders. She noticed one crawl under the edge of his mask. She wrinkled her nose. "Should I swat those away?" Eliza's voice came sharp. No. His skin is very sensitive. It's better not to touch him." Morgan nodded, though uneasily. Another day, she dropped her phone and bent down to pick it up. That's when she caught a glimpse of Daniel's legs. They were thin, not just skinny, emaciated. Skin stretched tightly over bone. The color was wrong too. Grayish, with blackish blotches near the ankles. She froze. Something deep in her gut said, "Leave now." But Eliza reappeared before she could act. "Would you like some lemonade?" Morgan declined. She left early that day. That night she couldn't sleep. At 1:04 a.m., she glanced out her window and saw movement. The carpenter's porch light flicked on. Victor appeared, rolling the wheelchair out onto the porch. Daniel sat there, mask glinting in the low light. Still, Victor leaned down, whispered something, then kissed the top of the mask, and walked back inside. Daniel stayed outside, alone, until sunrise. The next afternoon, Morgan returned. This time, her heart was pounding. She told herself it was imagination, that maybe Daniel had a condition, that there was a reason for everything. But when she entered the sitting room and Eliza went to the kitchen, Morgan stood. She moved to Daniel, slowly. Her hands trembled as she reached for the mask. "Daniel," she whispered, "I just want to see you." Just once, she peeled the mask back. It stuck, cracked slightly as she tugged, and then it came off. Beneath it was no living face, no warmth, no twitching cheek. It was bone, sunken sockets, mummified skin, a dry, gaping mouth. Morgan stumbled back, dropped the mask. It hit the floor with a hollow sound. Footsteps thundered from the hallway. Victor roared, "What did you do?" Morgan turned and ran. Eliza lunged from the side, grabbing her hair. "He was fine until you came," she shrieked. Morgan twisted free, scratched and bleeding, and bolted through the kitchen out the back door. The yard grass slapped her ankles and she leapt the rotting fence into the neighbor's yard. She pounded on the back door. Lights flicked on, dogs barked. She turned to look back. The carpenters stood at the edge of their porch. Eliza held the mask in her hands like a baby. Victor's face was blank. Police arrived minutes later. The carpenters were arrested. The body of Daniel Carpenter was confirmed to have been dead for over 5 years. They had embalmed him, kept him in the wheelchair, repainted his skin, changed his clothes weekly. They told authorities they had done rituals to bring him back, to keep him warm with love. They needed someone young, someone close to his age, to read, to care. The autopsy revealed carvings on his chest, symbols from old texts, ones investigators couldn't translate. The Carpenters were declared criminally insane. Morgan moved away before the end of the school year. But sometimes, just sometimes, on quiet nights when the wind is still and the moon is full, she dreams of a soft knock at her window. And when she looks up, a pale figure in a wheelchair waits on the lawn, mask in hand.